listen to us.
Check out the old podcast.
And he's, oh, what is it? So I told him,
Yeah.
Freedom 86, Freedom First. And, oh, well, what are you about? I was like, well, we're all about anarchy. And he kind of was like, whoa. And I'm like, see, that's where you're wrong. See, you don't know what anarchy is. And he's all, oh, shit, okay, well, what is it to you? And I was like, well, what is it, period? It's not what is it to me. It's what is the definition. It means without a ruling class. It means that you don't
without
need
rulers, yeah.
Yeah, without rulers. It means you don't need somebody to tell you what to do. You could run yourself. You're your own person. You could think for yourself. You could do for yourself. You could provide for yourself. You're supposed to do for yourself. And he's like, well, I like that. I was like, well, of course you like that, because who wants to be enslaved to someone else?
Right. It's about being like owning yourself and taking care of your own self and being the individual and all that, where it's not.
And most importantly, taking responsibility for yourself.
Right. Yeah, which is self-ownership. Yeah.
And a lot of people, they don't want to take responsibility, for themselves. They, well, this made me do it. Society made me do it. Video games made me do it. Dude, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
You decided to do that shit for yourself. But, I was trying to tell them, like, what it was. It's like, dude, it's all about not forcing anybody to do anything they don't want to do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And
I mean, like taxes. I mean, you go to work every day, right? Well, yeah. Well, and how much does Uncle Sam take out of your paycheck? Because I work fucking 10 to 12 hours a day. So I know Uncle Sam fucking loves my ass. He's getting me good. And it's like, dude, wouldn't you like to keep more of that money? Well, yeah, I'm working for it. I mean, a guy comes in and tells you, this entity comes in and tells you, hey, you got to give me this much of your paycheck every week to live in this civilized world. And it's like, well, really?
Yeah. Well, like, that's why, like, you'll always see us with the taxation is theft and all that stuff, because I feel like that's an easy way to, like, start that conversation. So I usually when I start it, it's like, well, taxation is theft, and then they're like, well, and sometimes it won't work exactly the way you want it to, just because no, it's more of extortion and stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, sure, I'm not disagreeing with that in any way.
But still, who wants to be extorted?
Yeah, but taxation and theft is just a catchy like catchphrase. You know what I mean? It's technically more robbery because it's at a point of a gun. So that's why we actually have a video called "Taxation is Robbery," and it's a little short one. But, yeah, I mean, that's how I always usually start, because most people are on board with that idea. And then what ends up happening is they'll be like, yeah, it is theft, because when I pay my taxes come April and all that, they get all whatever triggered about it. I'm like, yeah, but I'm talking about all taxes, like all the time, for whatever it is you even like is wrong. And that's kind of how I start.
You want to work? Boom, you get taxed. You want to buy something? You get taxed. You want to own a house? You get taxed.
Yeah.
You want to do anything, you get taxed for it.
Right.
You want to drink water, they want to fucking tax. You want to drive a car? Guess what? You already paid your tax on your car. Now you got to fucking pay tax on gas.
Yeah, and it goes beyond that too. It goes into the whole. So that's like where I'd start, and then you start talking about whatever policies and things like that, and then you're like, well, tariffs are taxes. The welfare state is taxes. It's redistribution of wealth. And then I'll go into all that, and I go, like, this is where I come from. I don't think that anyone should be forced to give anyone else. You know what I mean? Anything.
And that's where I try to take it. I've tried to, sit there and say, you know what? Would it be all right for me to fucking just, hey, give me your wallet. Why?
Right,
what do you want my wallet?
Right.
I want you, dude, give me some money. Why? What do you want it for? Don't worry about it. I want some fucking, I want some money.
Right.
And guess what? My homie here wants some too, and his homies want some too. So all of us want some of your money.
Yep.
Why not? If not, we're gonna fuck you up.
Yeah, and then the next step comes into then you like, well, we have a social contract. Well, we can vote. We can do all that. Then it goes into a whole new can of worms, and that's also another problem that happens is that when you're talking about what's right and wrong, like theft is wrong or rape or murder or whatever it is, you're talking about one of these issues. Robbery, anything, right? Any kind of issue you're talking about. Then they go, well, what about this? What about that? And they keep expanding it. So what I usually try to do is go, no, we're staying with this first topic. And then once you can get that in your brain locked down, then we can move on to the other. Because that's usually what ends up having, it like snowballs into all these other things.
So how do you stop the snowball before it gets to the... See, that's
you
my
bring
thing.
them back. So if you're talking about like taxes, right? That's your first thing you're talking about.
Mhm.
Well, then you attack it on all that angle, right? So everything you're going to talk about is taxes. As soon as they start veering off onto some other topic, like a social contract or something else, like whatever it is, I go, well, hold on, we can talk about that too, but we need to stay here first and get to the point where we understand, both of us, that either two things are going to be the end result here. It's okay for people to steal from people, or it's not. And then it comes into that, and then you go, well, you're believing in gray areas because of the greater good or whatever, but I don't believe that.
See, and that's where the conversation stops, because they don't want to sit there. And
Well, then that's fine. Then
Okay.
that's fine. That's absolutely fine, because it's like they put the burden of proof on us to prove everything that we have to
but
say.
they don't want to sit.
Right.
Well, it's out there. You don't need. Well, I don't need to provide.
Well, it
it's
gets
out
into
there.
all the feel-good shit, because it's always like, well, what about the poor? Or what about this? Or what about the starving kids here? Or what about this police action the U.S. government needs to take? Or what about, it's always all these other things. And you're like, well, wait, it's all funded by theft. It's all funded by robbery. So it's already wrong. So it's either right or wrong to steal. There's no in between. You know what I mean?
Remember when people were like, Trump was like, America will never be a socialist country. And
We
it's
already are.
dude.
What do you think welfare is?
Yeah, what do
It's
you
redistribution of wealth.
You're taking away from me to give to somebody else that doesn't want, that.
Or taking away from someone else to give to you. You know what I mean? Either way. And it's just redistributing the wealth, and that's socialism. So it's like you're already there.
But why don't they? Well, we know why they don't see it.
Well, it's because the reason why Trump said that is because Bernie Sanders and all that, and plus the media spins it the way they want to. If the media was actually honest, they would actually have investigative reports come out and be like,
Dude,
well, look, socialism is this, and this is what the policy is. What do you think all these bailouts are? Like, it's redistribution of wealth. So getting back to the taxation is theft thing as well. So it's like, let's prove the fact, right? Not like talk about like, oh, well, the media or this source or that. It's like, okay, we can talk about stories, we can talk about history, we can talk about all these things, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a philosophy and principles, right? So it's always wrong to steal. It's like, that's it.
It comes down to the whole black and white, and they don't want to see it.
Well, we have to compromise, or we have to give. It's like, okay, it's not a fucking marriage, guys. Okay. A marriage, you got to do that stuff, right? You got to compromise, or you give and take depending on what the situation is. That's the way it works, right? Or any relationship, a friendship, anything. But when it comes to government, no, we don't need to have that. It's what's right and wrong. What they'll do too is like, well, we got to meet in the middle ground, and it's like, no, we don't. No, we don't. We do not. I had that guy on my post, and he's like, well, we need to meet in the middle, and I'm like, no, we don't. There's what's right and wrong. That's what we need to fucking do. Like there. Why do we need to meet in the middle? If I'm talking about killing or theft or murder, theft, or rape or whatever, is there a middle ground?
So that means, I could hurt you compared to like murder.
I don't know, because they're not. Here's the thing: they're not logically thinking it through. So what they're talking about is like abortion or vaccines or whatever, right? That was in the context we're talking about. It's like, okay, we can talk about that shit, whatever it is you personally believe, that's fine, but you don't will that upon everyone else through democracy or mob rule or anything like that. You let people make their own decisions. If you don't want you don't want someone to have an abortion, or you don't want someone to commit rape, or you want someone to get vaccinated or not get murdered or whatever it is, then you go out and say why it's wrong, right? Like, it's pretty fucking simple, and you raise your kids that way. You help out in your community, your local community, to spread that word. You get a YouTube page, you do all that stuff. It's not that fucking hard. We rely now on what? Law enforcement or fucking teachers generally. And those are all state run. Yeah, so when you're like talking to people about it, it's like, you stay on the one topic. That's I think pretty much like the ultimate thing. Like, you get them to admit that the government is force, right? Because if you don't want to admit that, then it's like we can't really go anywhere from there. And then I feel like the main thing that they always are trying to push is that, well, the way they'll respond to you, I think that's a better way, is they'll say, well, what about this law or the Constitution or this or that? And they'll say all these things, and I'm like, well, once again, I don't believe any of that crap. Like, I don't, like, men wrote that shit. Like, I don't care. I'm a single person. I can, individually make my own decisions. Like, I don't agree with everything. that they did. Oh, well, the founders did this, that, and the other thing. Well, they also had the whiskey rebellion immediately after that. They went to war over taxes and immediately go to fucking war over taxes. Like the opposite. You know, it's like statism is always going to do that, right? You put a collective in charge of people, it's always going to come down to mob rule. Always. You know, the only other way you're going to have it is a dictatorship. So those are the only two forms of control really that are ever going to happen. A collective version of control or one dude that's fucking, or lady, whatever, calling all the shots, a king, queen type. You know what I mean? There's no other thing. But it's always force. It's always a form of statism. But yeah, you really need to learn, like most people need to learn what self-ownership is. And it's basically property rights.
There's another way. Mm-hmm. How about we give that a try?